today to our Hustle and Heart podcast. This is our special guest today, Brent Edwards. We have so much to talk about, so much to unpack. Let's start by talking a little bit about BrentCanada Experiences. I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to have you here today because not only are you, promoting BrentCanada Experiences, but you have such an amazing history in terms of your experiences, what you've done, and they've been so diverse. And I'm kind of really interested to see what led you to where you are today.
Sure.
So, give a brief intro about yourself, Brent. Tell us who you are, and let's talk a little bit about BrentCanada Experiences and then go back.
Absolutely, Doreen. It's so kind of you to invite me to be a guest on your podcast. I know we've gotten to know each other a bit through the Canada Startup Association.
Yes.
So BrentCanada Experiences is a consultancy that I started officially a year ago, really designed to help newcomer entrepreneurs with business growth. But it really comes out of the work that I had done as a volunteer, actually starting with the Institute for Canadian Citizenship.
Oh.
So I was a volunteer with them going back, 10, 12 years ago. And what the Institute does among the research and advocacy work is they have enhanced citizenship ceremonies for new Canadians. So I really wanted to do something in the citizenship area because creating a welcoming environment for newcomers is so important to me. I've lived all across Canada, come in as a stranger in different environments. And though I haven't lived internationally, I've realized how important it is for somebody who's coming to a new city, a new organization, a new region to feel welcome. And I realized that the citizenship ceremony is such an important milestone for especially new immigrants,
Right.
That I wanted to be able to contribute. And that's kind of what sparked a lot of the work I've done since in the settlement area and helping newcomers.
Wow, no, that's an amazing feat that you're taking on. You mentioned the ceremony of being sworn in as a citizen of Canada. And not only is it a big milestone, but it's such a proud moment, and it comes with it so much feeling and emotion because a lot of people who come to this beautiful country of ours come for a reason. Either they're fleeing hardships where they are, or they're looking for a better opportunity, and this is the place that they've chosen, and they place all their hopes and dreams on Canada as a nation. And I for one am really proud to be here in Canada as a Canadian and helping other people as they come along the way. And I think this is one of your missions as well, is to help the newcomer as well as existing people who have lived here, all their lives, to set up their entrepreneurship programs and, various things that they may want to take on as they come here. That also enhances our economy, it grows our country, and it gives hope to other people who want to do the same thing. So let's talk a little bit about the premise of BrentCanada Experiences.
Sure.
Who is your target? Like, what are some of the services that you offer? I know there's like a lot of questions that I'm asking here, but just try to unpack it as best as you can.
Yes, absolutely. So in starting my own business, so I retired from the Ontario Chamber of Commerce almost a year ago, and had my objective was to start my own business, and it was kind of just the right time. Go out on a high. I've really enjoyed working at the chamber. It's a huge asset to any small business that's looking to grow. But I wanted to actually focus in on newcomers, and it's still, this is the hustle part of the business. It's still a growing concern,
right?
Getting new customers, and again, one of the reasons why I'm so glad to join you today. But I've been doing it through workshops and individual coaching. There's also some other initiatives that I've undertaken that are related to newcomers and education, which we can talk a little bit about as well.
Yes. So, what are some of the hardships that people are facing? Like, when they make a decision, I mean, typically when people come to a country, they start looking for a job immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Job market being as it is right now is pretty conservative. There's a few challenges trying to
Yes.
get in and even fitting in, having that
Yes.
personality, the communication skills, it all kind of ties into this package. But then on the other side of it, that people don't really look at very often is starting a business.
Yes.
And it comes with so many rewards, but it comes with many challenges as well.
It does.
So tell me, what is the main, or there's probably a few challenges that people are facing.
Yes.
And how are you helping them to overcome those challenges?
Yes, absolutely. So I think what I've learned from starting my own business, but even before when I was doing volunteer work with the Toronto Region Immigrant Economic Council, and through some of the work I'd done with New Canadians and putting together a guide for newcomers around networking, it's around social capital. People who are coming to Canada have a lot of brilliant ideas. They're very brave for having chosen Canada and moving all around the world. They're bold, ambitious, but in a lot of cases what they're lacking is the social capital and the connections. And some people are finding ways to start their business and find suppliers and find customers and find employees, but others are struggling because it's not something, the way that we build relationships in Canada is different than what they're used to. So that seems to come back to being one of the persistent challenges. And I know through networking and building relationships, and whether you're looking for a job or creating your own job through starting a business, it's all around these business relationships and how do you create them.
Absolutely.
And within also just the business etiquette, and especially in a city like Toronto where you're building relationships and it may be with people an hour or two away, even though they're in the same city. So like, how do you do that? How do you keep and maintain those relationships? A lot of it comes back to building trust and building trust with people who are strangers. And how do you build your credibility? So those are kind of consistent issues around trust and credibility and social capital. Those are the areas that I usually lean into to try to assist.
Good. There's just so much involved in starting a business, as you said. There's actually the physical mechanics of starting a job, but you're right. The main crux of it all is integrating with people who are going to take your ideas and help you launch it. They're going to support you, and how do you build that support? You need to be visible. If people don't see you and if people don't know you, it's not going to get you very far, right?
Correct.
So I'm really glad that you're adding a component of networking and building relationships to your services and program, because without it, it's tough. It's tough for any business owner and even someone who's looking to get a job. Your visibility really, really counts. You've had an amazing career, Brent, in the corporate sector as well. Very diverse kind of jobs. I read your bio, amazing. But all of these things, and even working at the chamber, you come across so many people who do different things. And at some point, it's like a puzzle. And all of these little pieces of the puzzle fit together, and then you have that aha moment, like, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what's going to take me over the threshold. Tell me about Brent Edwards. Tell me about, your early days when you started. Obviously, this is a journey, where you were 20, 30 years ago and where you are today. You didn't know back then, 20, 30 years ago, that this is what you're going to be doing today. So draw that picture for me, if you will.
Well, it's interesting that you asked the question that way, because these are the type of questions that I address as part of being part of the Ontario Career Lab. So this is an initiative that I'm supporting through the Halton Industry Education Council. So we're actively looking for volunteer career coaches across Ontario, right? And there's a number of people have signed up. The objective is to reach 310,000 high school students in grade 9 and grade 10 across the province.
Amazing.
So it's an initiative that's supported by the Ministry of Education. And a lot of it involves meeting with students in groups of like 6 or 8. So there's a vetting process that everyone goes through, application process. They're vetted, and then they're actually assigned to go to individual high schools. A lot of them may be in their own community. But when you're sitting down with 6 or 8 grade 9s or grade 10s, and they're asking you questions like, so why did you pick to go into what you chose? Why did you go into marketing? Why did you go into financial services? Like we both have worked in the banking sector quite a bit. Right. And so the story I go back to was when I graduated from Simon Fraser University with a business degree, the faculty said, we're going to put together a resume book. Again, a paper resume book. So I'm dating myself 20, 30 plus years ago, of everyone's resume. But you need to choose 2 objectives. Okay. In terms of what you're going to go into. So I'm thinking, okay. So the 2 I chose was I was either going to want to work in the hotel and travel industry because I had worked at Expo 86. I had done Katimavik. I'd worked at the Visitors Bureau in Vancouver, or I wanted to go into public relations. So when I graduated, again, dating myself, 2 months after I graduated, there was an economic crash and the stock market fell by 20% in one day. Wow. So people can Google that to figure out what year that was. Yeah. I ended up going into the travel industry. But I had a job that was basically straight commission out of university. I briefly worked at the front desk of the Westin Bayshore Hotel, counting cash. Didn't do very well at it. And then elected to, try the market in Toronto. So I came to Toronto for a month, didn't know anyone. I stayed at my sister's place in Hamilton and basically searched for a job. Turned out I was able to secure a job with Thomas Cook at the time because they were expanding through buying Eaton's. So I was in the corporate travel and financial services industry for 25 years. But it was like, I still wanted to do public relations. I'd had that in the back of my mind. So when am I going to do that? So it wasn't until I arrived at the chamber, being the key account manager, that it was like, this is public affairs. These were all the political science students ended up. This is the public relations part because I was also responsible for sponsorships. So I've managed to have check marks both next to both of those objectives I had coming out of university, but I didn't realize that with public relations, it would be 30 years into my career when I would have a chance to actually do that. And that travel would actually bring me to Toronto. I mean, there were 3 things I was committed when I graduated from SFU in Vancouver to do, Burnaby, to be specific. I wasn't going to go into sales because I studied marketing. I wouldn't want to work in banking because, banking would be boring. And the third thing was I was under no circumstances moving to Toronto. Oh, okay. So you did all of them. And had a great career in sales, which led to a career in marketing and where I am today. So we all have these circuitous routes in terms of where we get to where we are. And we look back and say, oh, it makes total sense. Yeah. But that's the stories we tell. Right. But in this way, I've actually achieved kind of both the goals I had when I first graduated university. Oh, that's an amazing story, and it's an amazing path that you've just outlined. It reminds me of my own as well in terms of, you mentioned the volunteer program for the youth that you're looking to get people to talk to various high school students. And I'm glad I kind of put my hand up to you and said, okay, count me in. It reminded me of myself, when I look back at my graduation of high school. Okay, it wasn't that long ago, but much more recent than mine was. So. No, I don't think so. But when people said to me, so what do you want to do, when you graduate? And it was like being like a deer caught in the headlights. I had no clue. Yeah. I had no clue. And you kind of
do what everybody else is doing. You follow along in the same path. You try to think, oh, well, if he's doing that or she's doing that, I'm going to try that too. But then you realize, well, that's not me. It's them.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time for you to find yourself. It takes a long time for you to figure out, who's Doreen, who's Brent, what do we like to do? Nobody ever asks us, what do you like to do? They always say, what do you want to do?
Yes.
Right? Now we're kind of changing the narrative a bit. Yeah. We're kind of coaching and counseling our kids or other high school kids like this to say, what do you love to do? Let's find that passion that's going to fire you up, and it takes a while. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, if you were born and you knew right away, I want to be a doctor. It's my passion. I go to bed at night thinking about it.
Yes.
I wake up in the morning thinking about it. All the power to you. You want to be a doctor, go for it. But how many people know that? Like, how many people know what they want to do?
And they also assume what they want to do. So if I even go back to coming out of high school, I was actually, I'd applied for both the Katimavik program, which is the Youth National Volunteer Program, and Canada World Youth. So at the end of grade 12, I had gone through the selection process with Canada World Youth, and they had chosen 55 of us to participate. So I was basically pretty sure that come September of that year, I was going to be spending 3.5 months in Sri Lanka. And then spending another 3.5 months back in Canada with the Sri Lankan adults who were with. I get to the end of July, and I'm working in a warehouse, moving furniture to make room for the construction of BC Place Stadium, where my beloved BC Lions football team play. And I get a note saying they had to cut back, and they couldn't take 55, they could only take 50. And I was when the 5 got cut.
Oh, no.
So then at that end of that month, it was like, okay, so I'm actually going to university in September, and who do I, So, of course, I asked the straight A math student who friend up the street for advice, and he said, oh yeah, take calculus, and not a good person to ask for advice. Yeah. But then 2 years in, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So I reapplied for both programs, and I got accepted to Katimavik. And I spent 9 months. I was in Lac Saint Jean version of Quebec. I was near Halifax Airport, and I was in Minden, Ontario. And it kind of transformed my life, and came back and I said, I'm going to move from the arts program into business and marketing, and the rest is history, as they say.
To me, I've realized that it's about just trying different things. Just throwing yourself into something and trying it out, and say, you know what, I'm just going to get the exposure. I'm just going to get the experience. It builds you. It builds your character. Then you move on to something else, and you move on to something else. And then before you know it, now you know what you like to do and what you don't like to do. And then you can pursue that, new thing that you want. The other thing I've realized too is that things change. The environment changes. You change. I change.
Oh, yeah.
And what you thought or how you felt when you were 20 is different than how you think and feel at the age of 39 or 50 or whatever. And but it's okay, right? It's the beauty of life. And I think if there was a message that I were to impart to people, is like, don't get hung up on it. Don't get hung up on it. Just do it and enjoy it.
Yes.
And see what else is beyond that next hurdle, When you interact with a lot of the newcomers who are coming into the country, you have so much to share. We've just kind of talked a little bit about your journey.
Yes.
And what you can teach people, besides the youth, the newcomers who are coming to the country. You can show them the ropes. You can say, hey, you know what? If I were you, this is how I would pursue it. Here's the tools and resources that you need. This is what I'm going to provide to you so that you can succeed.
Yes.
Right. So what are some of those building blocks that you share with your clients who are coming into the country?
Yeah. So I guess if I look at the workshops and the coaching that I'm doing, a lot of it is focused on business relationships. It's also on sales skills in the Canadian business context. So a lot of my work throughout my career, if you connect the dots and where there's a line of consistency, is around revenue growth So whether I was a product manager, a project manager, a marketing manager, sales manager, any of those roles, it was all around revenue growth. So it's helping people to identify how to build the visibility, how to build the relationships, what the sales process looks like in Canada. And I think what I find that a lot of the newcomers have experience in sales, but it's more the pace and rhythm in Canada. So some of them have come from parts of the world where the pace of business is much quicker than it is here. And even people in the rest of Canada would say, well, Toronto's so fast paced, but they're coming from areas of the world where if you don't have a deal done in 3 meetings, you move on to the next customer. And in Canada, that's something where it's more of a marathon versus a sprint. So I think it's this patience with the sales process and being patient with the deliberation and the decision making that may be different than what they're used to. And how aggressive or assertive to be in terms of following up, and when to back off and let time pass before you chase after the prospect again.
Cool. So do you hold their hand through the whole process? Like when you work with a client who wants to, look at starting a business, and do you hold their hand through the whole process till the very end, or like how do you engage with them?
Not yet. No. Right now it's more in the form of individual coaching. And workshops that I'm doing with them. Oh, okay. So that's one. And I'm also exploring other areas that are adjacent services, which I'm still developing.
Okay, cool.
But there is, from the time that I was starting to work with the newcomers back before the pandemic, the number of people who are offering other services, a substantial number. Like there was things when I was initially working on this would have been around 2018 or so, and to where we are now, so many other people have jumped in and offered services.
Oh, okay.
Like there is no lack of services available to newcomers. Right. I think it's at what stage of their development where they can help. So I've done workshops for folks who are brand new to Canada. In a lot of cases, I'm not able to help them as much as they need, because in a lot of cases they need settlement help. They need help from yourself with career coaching and actually finding a job, etc. And that's where I think I'm going to be expanding beyond newcomers. And it could be somebody newcomer like I was. I was a newcomer to Toronto. I just happen to be from another part of Canada. Right. And I think that's where I'm going to be focused, because those are the types of conversations where I think I can actually help them more than initially when I started my own business. I thought, yes, it's people who've just arrived that can be most value to. It's actually people who've been here for, it could be 2 years, it could be 5 years. I've also talked to folks who've had their own business. They may be professionals, accountants or architects or engineers, been here for 10 years, but they're looking to grow their services beyond their initial target market. And market to mainstream other markets. And it's like, how do I build those relationships? Because I've kind of exhausted the potential customers I initially went after.
That's really interesting. I mean, I think for a lot of people, they don't know what they don't know. We all don't know what we don't know. And they don't know which way to head. Where do you start? And that's where I think your services are so important, is because you provide that hand to say, you know what, let me help you get there. And that's what's an amazing thing about what you're doing is you're giving people hope. You're building a livelihood for them to say, don't feel lost, don't feel bad, I'm here to kind of help you. There are so many resources and so many tools, but we don't know about them. And that's, somebody like yourself who has tried them, you've experienced them. Now you're teaching about them.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about the sponsorship aspect of what you do as well. You told me that you also help with sponsorship if certain businesses need it for their businesses. What exactly does that entail, and how do you help them achieve it? And who are these sponsors?
Yeah, so I think the area of sponsorship that I'm leaning into, some of it are with like trade and professional associations, where they need help in terms of building their sponsorship revenue associated with principally events. Because a lot of my experience has been, as we were talking about before we got started, in-person events, conferences, conventions, trade shows. Like, how do you build visibility? Because you've already invested your marketing dollars, but how do you actually get the maximum value from that visibility through attending those in-person events? And Toronto is, the center of a lot of major conferences across Canada. A lot of people are investing dollars into not just attending, but being sponsors. And it's like, okay, when you're actually sitting down as a sponsor and you're starting to negotiate the benefits, like, how are you going to get value from that? I've gone to enough trade shows where people have a table set up, they've got a banner, and they're not really seeing any traffic. So it's like, how do you actually engage people at a trade show? How do you find who your customers are? How do you actually have a follow-up process where you're working with your CRM? You're actually following up with them. You are making it memorable for them to interact with you. So you can actually get value from this. Because I was in the travel and entertainment expense management area for a long time. These are expensive initiatives, and it comes back to your return on investment. So how can you make sure you're getting the best return on investment from this engagement with, a very high visible opportunity that comes up, especially if you're coming from the rest of Canada and you haven't worked in Toronto before.
Oh, true.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's again so many conferences, but let me work with you as you come into the market.
You're right. I mean, it could differ from one province to the next in terms of what's being offered and what's available.
A lot, and I've pretty much worked with sales teams across Canada and have done business with customers across the country, and there's a lot of differences. Wow. There's subtle ones, which is usually what trips people up, because there's these small differences that aren't actually written in a playbook anywhere. And how do you do business with someone in Vancouver versus if you're doing with someone in Halifax, right? So those are things to keep in mind. Where I believe that my experience, having lived across the country, traveled not just for business but for vacation and understanding of the country, that is something where I really want to be able to assist people.
You recently took on an engagement with the Canada Startup Association.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that. This is a great organization in terms of helping startup businesses. They provide a lot of resources as well. And they're like the champions, they're the cheerleaders for moving this process along.
Yes.
Canada it has so much room for improvement in terms of what people can do and make that livelihood for them if you're a startup business.
Yes.
But again, there's hurdles, there's challenges, and they're trying to smooth the path for people to do that.
Right.
So how do you fit in with the Canada Startup Association? What are you doing for them?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I know that you've been involved yourself in terms of the event. So I'm coming on as an advisor. A lot of it will be advising with the AGAS Summit, the main conference that's happening during the year. Right. But it's also looking for potential sponsors, right, who can support the initiative. They're also in the process of starting an angel investor network. Yes. And looking to get involved with that as well. We need to build relationships with more countries around the world. Yeah. Right. I'm old enough to know that this is a topic that we've been talking about for 40 plus years. It's not a new initiative to try to build relationships and diversify our trade. Like it's something everyone's talking about right now, but it's not a new topic. It's just that the impetus and the urgency is here now where maybe it wasn't before. And that's where I see the Canada Startup Association and the Global Angel Investor Network helping newcomer entrepreneurs go global. There are so many possibilities. So we talked earlier about social capital. Well, a lot of the newcomer entrepreneurs do have social capital. They may not have as much as they want in Canada, but they do have them overseas and in other markets.
Right.
And it's leveraging those relationships that we have, which can make us a trade superpower.
Yeah.
So, and if there was ever a time where those businesses needed assistance, it's now, and Canada Startup Association can assist them. There's been the Trade Commissioner Service is in about 150 countries around the world. It's a service from the federal government. They do amazing work. So if you're looking to do market entry in virtually any market around the world, there's someone from the Trade Commissioner Service who can assist and can assist with market access and introductions and market research. And I think that the Startup Association can work with those partners and work with others to help growth. It's all about economic growth. I mean, if going back to whether you're starting your own business, whether you're doing career coaching as you are as one of your services, like we need economic growth to assist us, and that will make us a stronger country.
Absolutely. Can you share with us one or a couple of stories of people that you've actually helped cross that finish line? Someone who's come here, what was their story?
Sure.
How did you, I'm sure this is going to make you glow up, when you think about how your services have helped someone.
Yeah. So I think about one individual in particular. He had his own business in India, in one of the southern states of India, and had come to Canada. This would have been about 5 years ago. Really didn't know anyone. We actually met. So again, this is the power of networking. So I actually met him through a connection of mine that I met online with whom I was doing some podcast type events, who was actually based in Salt Lake City, Utah. So she said, this gentleman was moving to Canada. I actually happened to be doing a workshop downtown. He was it was a snowy day, so we didn't have a lot of attendance, but he came out to the event, and we actually became fast friends from there. So I actually did some training for his company, and now he's grown, and he's done a lot of work in technology and cyber. He's working with different levels of government as contractors. So initially it started off, I was coaching him, and now he's mentoring me.
Wow. That's a full circle.
Which is very cool. So he's actually, he's in Southwestern Ontario now. So he brought over his family and bought a house, and the kids are in school, but things have been a success. And he initially was looking at working overseas, but he actually are doing business with customers overseas because he had his own business already, but has now worked with provincial governments for several years as contractors.
Wow.
And so he's doing great. So it just, the shoe's on the other foot now. So he's coaching me because he's had a lot more experience being an entrepreneur. I had the experience in terms of working in Canada, but
that's a fantastic story. We need more of those good news stories, with everything that's going around.
But I think that's I think that goes back to the point where, and it's something I guess I feel pretty strongly about, is I see, and you asked about newcomers and, what help they need, but there's a lot of help that established Canadians need as well.
Yeah.
So, it's a two-way street, right? So just as I was coaching him, and now he's mentoring me. There's so much opportunity for the newcomers to help out new Canadians. So if we're talking, or established Canadians. So if we're talking about trade and understanding the world and working across cultures and doing contracts and sales and other markets, we've got a world full of people who've got that experience. And we need more bridges between newcomers and established Canadians. So there are a lot of newcomers who are helping other newcomers, but I don't see as many established Canadians as I would like to, who are also working with new Canadians.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
So,
but through a show like this and what you're doing, this is what we want to talk about. This is what we want to ignite in people to say. And maybe they're just not aware. They're just not aware, and they're not thinking about it.
A lot of, there's so many great examples of Canadians volunteering and supporting and helping needs in times of crisis and that. And I think it just may be that maybe we're not asking them the right way or saying how they can help.
Maybe that should be a new extension of your services, is to bring in existing entrepreneurs to say, let's get you firing up other people and let's make this full circle. Because there's a lot to be said for making that circle to come back around. It's so empowering.
There's 41 million of us. We need to all be working together. I go back to one of my favorite quotes from a movie. It's not a Canadian movie, but Jerry Maguire. There's so many business quotes from her.
Oh, really?
I love it.
Okay.
And of course, that was a movie from like '96. Tom Cruise, he was a sports agent, helping Cuba Gooding Jr., who was a football player, and it was all about their relationship. But Tom would, at one point, he was talking with Cuba, and Cuba's asking for more money and a bigger contract with another team. And it's like, show me the money, Jerry.
Right.
And Tom, who's playing Jerry Maguire, his advice to Cuba, who's the football player, is help me help you. So, and I think that a lot of that applies to whether you're starting your business or you're asking for career advice, is people want to help, but you need to tell them how they can help you. Because if you can't articulate or not willing to ask for help, then people are not going to come out of the woodwork to help you.
And it all boils down to assumptions, right? We talked about assumptions earlier on in our conversation, and you can't make people assume things about you. Like, come out and say it so that you can be matched up right away to get there faster,
Yes.
Where's your family originally from?
In
Canada? Generations ago? Or I thought you were from Scotland or something.
It's a good question, because it also ties in with some of the networking I'm doing. I'll try to keep this short. Just even my immediate family. So my mother was born in Halifax. My dad was born in Vancouver.
Okay.
They met in Montreal. So you can see how we're connected that way. My mother's ancestors came from principally Northern Ireland.
Okay.
Some of them came directly to Nova Scotia in the mid-1850s. Others came to Ontario in the 1820s.
Okay.
So they actually, it turns out, lived in Orangeville and lived in Markham.
Wow.
And one of them actually lived probably a few miles away from where I live 200 years later in Markham. My dad's family was from the States.
Oh.
My grandfather was born in Omaha, Nebraska. My grandmother was born in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And my dad's father was orphaned when he was 12. He and his three sisters were scattered all over North America. He went to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. He had a sister who went to New Mexico. He had another sister who went to the Alpines, which is part of Cuba. Another one went to Washington State. He ended up going to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which gets actually more snow. It's got the most amount of snow in North America.
Wow.
And it's cold. So they actually went to there, and he ended up meeting my grandmother. They ended up in Edmonton. and then went into Vancouver. But they're likely have got some German heritage, some British heritage going back.
So it's quite a mixed.
But that side of the family has been in North America since the 1730s.
Oh, okay. And I'm sure they've all kind of been trailblazers in many ways, like trying different things. Again, going back to our initial conversation is, you start doing something out of necessity. And then before you know it, you do whatever you need to do to survive.
Oh, yeah.
And learn and grow. And hopefully somewhere along the way, you find your passion. You find what you love to do.
I had, quick story about my grandmother. She had 7 brothers. They're all over 6 feet tall. Their father was a carpenter because of the copper boom in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, the early 1900s. He actually, the copper boom went bust, had to find work, decided to move to Alberta because they're offering free land. The thing is, he couldn't even grow things, from what I understand, from my grandmother, in their back garden. Okay. So he was moving to Alberta to be a farmer. They moved to Alberta. They lived in a sod hut. The farming thing, of course, didn't work out, but they were building railroad, and they needed people building trestles out for the rivers. So he and the sons ended up being suppliers and doing carpentry work and building like train stations. Right. So that's kind of how they ended up.
Wow. That is an amazing story. And I think it deserves a storytelling, a book or a video, which is something that we can help you with. This is an amazing story. Like, the journey is amazing. Like, you were all over the place, doing different things, different people. And then somehow here you are today because of all of those people doing different things. And you've got your own story to tell now because of what they have done and how they have paved the way for you. And this is a really strong point or strong mechanism, if you will, to share with the newcomers to say, you know what, this is the journey that I've just come from. It was twisty-turny all over the place, around and around we go in circles, but here I am today, loving life, loving what I do.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is what every newcomer who wants to come to Canada wants, that success story. They want to find that passion and the love of life here in Canada. And I'm just so happy, Brent, that you are here today to share this with us, to tell people about who you are and what you're doing. You're not just offering a service, you are enabling people to live their passion and find their lives here in Canada. And that is just amazing. It's huge.
I'm one of many people who are doing whatever they can to help newcomers, as I've told other people. My mission is to avoid newcomers who've chosen Canada 5 years in having buyer's remorse.
Right.
I don't want them to say, I made
a
mistake.
Money,
I chose the wrong country, because that breaks my heart.
Right.
So I'm such a patriot that's something that I want to do what I can to avoid people having that
awesome.
feeling.
We'd love to maybe circle back at a later time with some of those success stories more as you grow and as you want to share more stories with us to kind of show people. And that's the premise behind Hustle and Heart, is to inspire, to teach, and to help businesses grow and succeed.
Yeah, and I think it's all kind of where people are in their journey. Like I still feel like I'm kind of at the beginning of my journey, in terms of having my own business and finding my target market and who I'm going to support. So just the challenges with, deciding what you're going to do and then making like incremental gains. There is an Australian writer just published a book called Big Trust. Okay. Her name is Sade. I don't remember what her last name is. And she's like a PhD researcher on psychology and that. But she was posting some videos about people basically planning too much and not taking action. Right? Yeah. And I think part of it is this idea about the curse of knowledge. And you come back to like, help me help you. But it's when you're trying to help people, you're trying to figure out what they need, but you also sometimes underestimate what you know.
Yeah.
And I think especially in coaching businesses, it's like, oh, I'm sure they know that. I'm sure they understand it. Like, why would I cover that off? Yeah. It's not a value. And I think that's a hurdle that I'm trying to still surmount. And I'm seeing other coaches run into the same thing where it's like, you know, they know enough about and they know so much about the topic that they realize how much they don't know.
Right.
And that kind of prevents them from taking action because they will embark on something. It's like, okay, I'm going to try this out. They learn about it and it's like, okay, yeah, but I'm not an expert. So there's so much to learn and I'll figure out when I'm ready.
Right.
But they're never ready
to
actually do it.
Right.
So she actually posted something on, I don't know, it was like YouTube Reels or something about this idea of finding really tiny goals, but actually doing something rather than waiting till you're ready. Because the more you investigate something, it's like,
you'll never.
Oh yeah, I want to do this, but the more I find out about it, it's like, no, I there's so much I don't know.
Right.
But you end up doing nothing.
Yeah.
But it's I think it's probably a struggle for more people than we think.
And it's also the fear of, I don't know if it's going to work. I might fail.
Oh yeah. It's like I want to do it, but I want to do it
perfectly. Yeah.
Right.
It's that does not happen in the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the other piece of advice I got was Bobby Umar, who runs like LinkedIn Locals in Toronto.
Okay.
He was talking about one of his Substack posts, the idea that as a small business owner, you can't think like a product manager in a big company. And I spent like 30 years in big, large organizations. You've worked in very large organizations too. And it's like, you're going to launch a product, but I don't have like a legal department and a social media team and a marketing team and customer service. That's me. I'm a solopreneur. So don't think about doing these major launches, which I think initially when I got started, I had big ambitions in terms of big blocks of services I was going to offer. But it's like, there's one of me.
Yes, exactly.
So maybe I'll get to that in a few years, but it's like, scale back your ambitions, not to say don't be ambitious, but do something that you can do as one person versus running the marketing department because they're not here with you. So those are a couple of learnings that I've kind of come across that I think are impacting and helping me readjust in terms of what I do.
Thank you so much, Brent, for being here today with us and sharing your journey, your story, talking from your heart. It's always fun talking to you. And let us know how we can help you, to further your business as you grow. Like, let me know how I can help you.
Yes,
right? I'm going to use this now on. I love it. So thank you so much.
Doreen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your interest. And I look forward to connecting with people who've are joining the podcast. I think you guys are doing great work to raise the visibility and how people can make a difference.
Exactly. That's why we're called The Hustle and Heart. It's all about having the heart and applying the hustle to get to where you are. And that's what we're planning to do. That's what we aim to do. So, Brent, thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.